All right, back to the big theme at President Trump's news conference, the media. Listen.
Well, the leaks are real. You're the one that wrote about them and reported them. I mean, the leaks are real. You know what they said. You saw it. And the leaks are absolutely real. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake. So one thing that I felt it was very important to do, and I hope we can correct it, because there's nobody I have more respect for, well, maybe a little bit, but than reporters, than good reporters. It's very important to me, and especially in this position. It's very important. I don't mind bad stories. I can handle a bad story better than anybody, as long as it's true.
Woo. Guy Benson is political editor at townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. Bernard Whitman is a former pollster for President Bill Clinton and the CEO of Whitman Insight Strategies. Guy, let me start with you. The complaint ahead of this news conference was he's only calling on friendlies, that he's not calling on all the other people. I mean, boy, he let everybody stand up pretty much and ask a question. There was nothing friendly about what we saw.
They wanted questions. They got questions. And I think at one point Trump said, I'm enjoying this. And if you fact check that statement, I think it probably comes out true.
Yes.
He clearly, I think, from my perspective, strode out to the podium today with two things in mind. Two acts, if you will, of this event. First act was a mini State of the Union address pushing back against what he views as a relentlessly and unfairly negative media narrative about how his administration has begun. He wanted to give his own narrative and say, here's how I see things, talking directly to millions of people watching TV. Then the second part of it was the Q&A, and it was striking open rhetorical warfare with the press throughout most of it. And the people who love him, the people who elected him, they're watching that, and they ate every minute of it up. People in the press, of course, I think, are going to say it was a frightening performance.
Bernard, I mean, on one hand, you have to give him credit because he let people ask questions. They responded. He responded. They responded. I mean, no one was standing on ceremony. You know, I mean, there were a lot of lobs going back and forth in every direction.
Melissa, that press conference was a long, rambling, hot mess, just like his presidency has been, just like his campaign was. I mean, where do I even start? He claimed that he had the biggest electoral win since Ronald Reagan. That's true if you don't count Bill Clinton's elections, both of them, Barack Obama's elections, both of them, and George H.W. Bush. He said that the rollout of his executive order on the travel ban was perfect. If that was perfect, I'd hate to see mediocre. He claimed that the demise of Flynn was due to fake news and bad reporting. Actually, the demise of Flynn, the reason why he was fired was he lied to the American people and lied to the vice president. And then he failed to call out Russia for any one of a number. He failed to call Russia for any one of a number of terrible things that they've been doing. All he said was, they're bad. They're bad. Like Russia is some sort of dog peeing in the corner. I mean, this was completely. He was completely bonkers.
Okay, Guy, on the flip side, I mean, there was a massive amount of news in there. If you were listening, it went flying by your head. I mean, he talked about tax reform, that they're almost done with it. He said Obamacare, that we're going to see the next version in March. I mean, there were a lot of news nuggets in there.
I think, okay, so, and you've honed in a few times, Melissa, on the Obamacare piece. A lot of us have been wondering, when is the alternative plan going to be put out? He said early March, so sort of circle the calendar a couple weeks early in March. The other one, Melissa, that stuck out to me, PBS asked a very good question about immigration and the executive orders under President Obama, including among those dreamers. It sounded to me like the response from the president to that question, to my ear, was Trump laying the groundwork to, on some level, extend President Obama's executive order on the dreamers, not the adults. That's a separate one. But to me, that was newsworthy, and it whets my appetite for next week when we're going to find out what's actually in it.
Bernard, did you hear that piece of it? Because a lot of people went wild on social media, online, and different news sites when they heard that go by. That seemed newsworthy, no?
Yeah, I mean, I would be very delighted if he actually extended the doc. I think that would be terrific. But I think the big story here is Donald Trump ran on his position of being a businessman, a strong leader, being able to bring discipline to the White House. And if anything but, the White House has been plagued by leaks, plagued by infighting. One hand does not know what the other hand is doing. If he ran a business like this, it would be bankrupt.
Here, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Melissa.